Hi guys, this is Hirosaki. This story is all about what if Naruto was born a low-class devil before the Great Devil War. Realizing how the devil class system subjugated devils of lower class, Naruto will represent his origins as he rises and expose the corrupted system that he lives in, and he'll do it without the high-class devils even realizing it. Before we start, kindly like and subscribe to this channel, and look over the description box for the author of this amazing storyline. Welcome aboard. Chapter 6, The Majestic Green Beast. Occult Research Club. Orochimaru sipped his tea lightly and sighed at the taste. Truly, Rias, Queen, could really make some delicious tea. So, you are really going through with this? Said Rias Gremory from her desk. She had her hands linked together to support her chin as she stared at the snake man. You really are going to fight Sarorg today? Correct, but it isn't just me. My master's peerage will completely dominate the boy and begin to make a name for ourselves for the sake of my master. Answered Orochimaru with another sip of his tea. You guys should watch us. Said Lee as he munched on one of Akino's home-baked cookies. It's going to be really fun. My first rating game. I'm really excited. Of course. I'd be worried about my first rating game as well. Said Sona as she adjusted her glasses. I do hope you all succeed, despite our differences. It was after the school day and the day that Sarorg's peerage would face Naruto's peerage. Naruto's peerage was using the last few hours to prepare and relax their nerves for their first ever rating game, which would be filmed in front of the whole Devil Society. Orochimaru and Lee decided to inform the owners of the territory they were staying on what was going on. Rias' peerage, along with Sona and Tsubaki, were all enjoying Akino's cooking as they listened to Orochimaru and Lee. You should watch us destroy the Bael's peerage. Said Orochimaru with his ever-present cocky smirk that sent shivers down the younger devils' bodies. The man was always found a way to creep thee out with those sly smiles of his that seemed to promise pain. I actually will watch this rating game. Said Sona with a nod. I want to see the power that you've been bragging about as well as the rest of your master's peerage. I've felt their magical power throughout the week, which I summed up to you all as training for the rating game. Tsubaki and I are really interested in you all. Sadly, said Rias with a sigh, I won't be able to watch the game tonight. We still have a group of fallen angels that I need to handle. Apparently, one of them is the reason why Issei was killed. Yeah. Shouted Issei as he stood up from his seat. And when I catch her, I'll make her regret what she's done to me. Issei's boosted gear appeared on his arm to back up his words. I can't wait for tonight. Seems you're all set then. Lee said as he inhaled the last cookie, causing Kaneko to glare at him in anger. I'll have the same mindset for tonight then. I'll show them my youth. We really should have killed him back then. Muttered Kaneko with murderous eyes. Well, I'm glad you're ready for the task, Lee. Said Orochimaru, because you'll be having a major role in tonight's battle. He said, causing Lee to raise one of his bushy eyebrows in confusion. What do you mean, Orochimaru? He asked. Today will be your rite of passage, if that's what you want to call it, into the peerage. It'll be a measuring stick to see how strong you've become over these last 2 years. You'll be the one to take on Sarorg. Really? Shouted Lee with happiness. I'll be able to fight Sarorg? And uninterrupted too? Absolutely. I plan on telling the others to clean up the other little devils, so that you can have a full brawl with Sarorg. You don't have to beat him, but if you do, I'm sure you'll make our master proud. Answered Orochimaru. I'll do it. Lee shouted with the largest grin on his face. I'll show everyone that I'm a great fighter. Rias and Sona, along with the other devils, sent Orochimaru glances of disbelief. Does he really plan to make Lee fight Sarorg, a high-class Bael, by himself? Are you sure of this, Orochimaru? Asked Sona with worry for the hyperactive beast. I mean. Lee hasn't been a devil for a long time. Do you really believe that it'll be safe for him? Nothing in this world is safe, said Orochimaru as he finished his tea. We'll win no matter what, so we might as well use the opportunity to test young Lee's abilities. If he fails, then the next person will clean up the mess. If he wins, then it'll be an even more impressive victory seeing a low-class, reincarnated devil beat the heir to the Bael clan. Everything will be fine. If you say so, muttered Rias as she looked at the jolly Lee, who had Issei in a crushing hug. They were doing so well with their rookie member. Maybe tonight would help Issei trust her more than he does now? Well, I won't be rooting for you, seeing as Saroarg is my cousin. I wish you no harm. You probably wouldn't do the same if we were in a rating game, but alas, I guess I'll be the bigger person. She bragged with a playful smirk. Oh, you are absolutely right. Orochimaru with a smile, causing Rias and Sona to sweat drop. Orochimaru was really cold-hearted and wasn't afraid to tell anyone. However, I wish you luck during your own battle. You'll be getting rid of a pest that I was planning to deal with myself, so I thank you in advance for handling them. No problem at all, Rias said. I'll be sure to watch your victory later on. Fu. Seems you don't have faith in us, Orochimaru muttered with a glare. It doesn't matter. I don't need the praises of a spoiled little brat. Maybe this battle can help you understand how a real peerage fight. Rias peerage sent their own glares at Orochimaru, even Issei, but he ignored them all. They couldn't do anything to him, so he wasn't worried at all. Well, it's time for us to go, said Orochimaru as he stood from his seat. Lee. Time to go back home. Yes, sir, he said as he prepared a teleportation magic seal. I'll see you all tomorrow, he said with a wave. Watch our match closely, Citri, Orochimaru said with his wicked smirk. It'll blow your mind. And with that, the two disappeared. That man, muttered Rias with a shake of her head. He was going to be a problem in the future. She could just feel it. Well, it is your fault for allow them to stay here, Sona said, bringing up Rias' embarrassing moment she had during their last meeting. I'd say that they are your problem. Fufufu, seems like Rias has a problem that she can't handle for once, laughed Akino. I wonder how this will play out. Forget him, Rias huffed. I'll be sure to put my foot down and show them who's boss. Rias opened one of the many drawers that her desk had to get a plate for the extra cookies that Akino made. However, when she opened it, a 6-foot snake shot out of it. Aha! She shouted girlishly as she jumped out of her seat and hid behind Issei, who also looked at the snake in fear. How did he get that thing in there? Shouted Issei as he imagined Orochimaru laughing at them evilly for falling for his little trap. Sona, while surprised, giggled at Rias' predicament. Ever since she revived Issei, things had been lively in Kuo. The Snake Man was sure to bring her more entertainment in the form of a screaming Rias in the near future. This battle just got even more interesting to me, Sona said to Tsubaki, who nodded in agreement with her king. Naruto's peerage house. Hao and Yo were sitting in lawn chairs in the backyard, soaking up the sun. The two were having some time together as brothers before all the chaos that would surely occur after the rating game later on today. Ah. This feels great, Yo said as he closed his eyes in satisfaction. He didn't get a lot of time to relax because of Anna's harsh training, but now he could kick back, listen to music, and eat food. Life was starting to turn in his favor. We should do this more often. We'll just have to get Anna off our back every now and then, said the relaxed Hao as he crossed his arms behind his head. The catastrophe was soon to begin after the rating game, but at least he had his younger brother with him. Maybe go to movies or something. It'll be nice. Yeah, Yo said. I'm glad you're here. You really went crazy on us for a while. All of that's in the past though, right? Right, that's all in the past. However, I still have hate for a lot of beings, but I won't act on that because there is good in this world. I just need to put myself in the right position in order for me to experience that goodness," answered Hao. "However, if somebody tries to attack me or anyone in this peerage, their good is dead." Yeah. I didn't expect anything less," said Yo with a grin. "What do you think about the others, if you don't mind me asking?" "Honestly, they seem alright. Lee might get on my nerves sooner rather than later if he keeps asking me to train with him," said Hao with annoyance. "And Kisame, he's going to be a problem." I don't know. Maybe he's just defensive. We don't know his story. But I didn't like how he presented himself during the meeting. These past couple of days has been calm, but you suspect he may act out again?" asked Yo. "Surely," answered Hao. "He's arrogant. He acts like he can't lose. If he keeps acting this way, I may have to burn him." A small flame appeared in Hao's palm. "The only reason why I didn't do anything to him during the meeting is because I wanted to keep my appearance up in front of the others. Orochimaru, for example, seems very intelligent. Since Naruto-sama isn't here, I guess he'll be the leader of the group until further notice, which I don't have a problem with. Being the leader takes a lot of patience, a characteristic I don't have. We'll have to work on that. Don't want you blowing up the microwave whenever you wait for the popcorn to be done, huh?" Yo said with a chuckle. "You're so lame," his brother said back with a small grin on his own. He looked back up to the skies and sighed in contentment. This was what he wanted. He was happy with himself and wasn't alone anymore. "Peace," muttered Hao. Yo heard his brother, but he didn't comment on it. He knew what he was talking about. Hao has been through so many mental battles within himself, but now he found himself with the help of their master. Even though he wasn't the one to convince his brother of his wrongdoings, he would forever be grateful for their master, and would take upon any task that he needed to be done. "Everything is gonna work out, Hao," Yo said to his brother. "We'll be just fine." Underworld. SSCAERZH. "Oh, well, look at this surprise," said a red-headed devil that looked very familiar to Rias Gremory. He was sitting at a large desk filled with papers. "Been a while, huh, Seraphal?" "Sure has, Sir Zexchan," said Seraphal as she walked into his study with happiness radiating off her. "What's going on?" "Nothing much. I've just been checking in with the arranged marriage situation that my sister is in. I'm still trying to find a way for her to be free from such a curse," he said. "That's so mean. I understand keeping up the pure-blooded population of devils, but I don't agree with forcing her onto someone as incompetent as Riser Phoenix," she said with a pout. "She deserves someone better." Seraphal, after all these years, looked the same as she did centuries before. The only change was her clothing, in which she wore magical girl outfit for her television show Miracle Leviathan. Her attitude was noticeably happier than what she used to be during her time in the war, even though the person that helped her get through those times wasn't around anymore. Yes, she does deserve someone that she loves. I don't like the attitude that this devil has. He is arrogant and headstrong. I fear for what he might do to her during their marriage," he said. "Is there anything I can do?" "I want to be able to help little Rias-chan," Seraphal said in sadness. She looked to Rias as a little sister, not as much as her actual sister, but she did love the younger Gremory a lot and would take the chance to help her if she had the power to do so. "I'm afraid not, Seraphal. Sirzex with a frown. I'll just have to wait this one out until the opportunity presents itself." "All right," Seraphal said as she sat in one of the chairs available. "Anything else on your mind?" "Actually, yes there is." Sirzex as he turned to Seraphal. "Do you remember Naruto?" Seraphal's heart dropped and her eyes widened when she heard her past lover's name. Till this day, she felt guilty for what happened to him and hated herself for it, and now she didn't even know where he was to pick up where they left off. His name was always a sore subject for her, and it took her a long time to get over the blonde devil, but he would still remain in the back of her mind no matter how much she tried to forget. "Why yes. Naruto," she mumbled. Surzex raised an eyebrow at how she was acting. When he said Naruto's name, her bubbly personality did a full 180, and didn't she add Chan to everyone's name? "Well, I was wondering if you knew where he was. I haven't seen him in centuries. Ever since the war ended, it's like he disappeared." "Well, there were some complications between us," she said regretfully. "Complications? I never knew the reason why you two stopped dating. One day he is with you every day, and the next, he's like a ghost of the past." Surzex said with curiosity. "Can you tell me what happened, if you don't mind, that is?" "Well, I had to cut things off with Naruto for political reasons," she answered. "My mother and father didn't agree with me dating a low-class devil like Naruto. They thought it would tarnish my image, so they told me to stop dating him after the war was over." "Wow. I never knew," he said in surprise. "And you did it?" "And no. I couldn't do it," she muttered. She didn't want Surzex to see her shameful face, so she lowered her head towards the floor. "My father decided to take matters into his own hands and handled the breakup for me. So, he's the one that convinced Naruto to break up with you," Surzex said while rubbing his chin. "Interesting. No offense, but I didn't take Lord Citri to be the threatening type. He is when his daughters are involved," she said. "Ever since then, Naruto disappeared. He hasn't tried to meet me, call me anything. It's like he really did disappear." "Do you think he killed him?" Surzex asked with no hesitation. He was not going to stand for such murder of a devil that did nothing wrong, even if he was a clan leader. No, he wouldn't do something like that," yelled Seraphol, surprising Surzex further. "My father isn't like that. He told me that he convinced Naruto to cut things off between us, for good." "That isn't reassuring," answered Surzex with a growl. "Naruto wasn't the type of person to succumb to any situation he was in. He was smart, even smarter than me, and would have found some type way to fight back. You know this more than I do, correct?" "Yes, but Surzex. So, when you tell me that your father said that he convinced Naruto to break up with you, do you expect me to just accept that? Doesn't that sound a little suspicious to you?" "It is, but I know my father wouldn't do anything too rash to Naruto. He knows the consequences of killing a comrade, especially Naruto after his efforts in the war, but do you think that my father would do something as stupid as killing him? Do you, Surzex?" she yelled. "I trust my father, and while I haven't seen Naruto, I know that he didn't kill him." "So, he didn't kill him," muttered Surzex as he laced his fingers together. "So what does that leave? Banishment, maybe? If so, your father doesn't have the authority to do that. Naruto isn't a part of the Citri clan, so he wouldn't have any jurisdiction to do so. If Naruto was still here today, I can assure you that he would have been promoted to a high-class devil and a general in charge of a portion of our army. I would have made sure that he would have gotten the respect that he deserved after everything he went through. For Lucifer's sake, his own mother killed herself because her husband died in the war. After all of that, he still fought for his home. Do you honestly believe that he's just okay living somewhere right under our noses?" Seraphol dropped her head in shame. She couldn't retort to that. She had been running away from the idea that Naruto was dead a long time ago. However, after hearing Surzex break down everything, the thought of him being dead seemed more possible than anything. Her shoulders shook as she thought back on her past blonde lover. He had tried everything to make her happy during those times of war and darkness. The small talks after battle, sneaking to her personal quarters and just chatting about anything that came to mind, giving her some of his food, even when it was scarce, just to make sure that she was well fed. Everything that the two went through flooded from the back of her mind, and now every thought was about him. How he colored his armor orange, because he didn't like the gray color of their armor, how he devoured ramen, his cheeky grin and his positive attitude to anything, even the bad things. Seraphol covered her eyes as tears started to fall at a fast pace, because of what she did to him. Surzex watched Seraphol go through her traumas, but he didn't do anything to stop it. She was partially responsible for the disappearance of a war hero. A hero that she dated no less. While he hated seeing her like this because they were close friends, he couldn't deny that there were better ways to handle this situation. While Seraphol wasn't paying attention to him, Surzex pulled out a letter from his desk and read the message for the 100th time since receiving it. Do you want to know the secret of Naruto Bael? We'll meet soon. Surzex folded the message and put it back into his desk. He didn't want Seraphol or anyone to know about this yet. After a few minutes of her crying, Seraphol started to regain her bearings again. Sorry. She muttered to the devil leader as she wiped her eyes. It's all right. He said, however, I can't deny that this is a troubling situation, Seraphol. I'm going to investigate this further in order to find out what happened to Naruto. Surzex stood from his seat and walked towards one of the many windows in the room. He sighed and ran a hand through his hair. I was so caught up with my promotion that I totally forgot about him. Damn it. I'm sorry, Surzex, Seraphol said as she walked up to her friend, but I felt like I didn't have a choice. My life, up to that point, I was told to put my clan over everything. It was a physiological battle that I had within myself, asking myself day in and out whether should I choose Naruto or my clan. And you chose your clan. He said. I understand that. I was taught similarly to you after all. Even if that is true, you knew that you were one of the few devils that had the best odds at becoming a Satan. You should have waited that out until you were free. While I want to defend you on this because we are very close friends, Seraphol, you've done a lot of questionable things in this fiasco. You should have talked to somebody. I understand, but I was young and scared of all the pressure. She said. I didn't fully understand everything going on and I take full blame for it. Surzex sighed and turned to his co-Satan. Listen, we'll deal with this soon. I was going to enjoy the rating game that is soon to come on, Naruto Bael against a peerage that hasn't been in a rating game. Care to join me? Seraphol smiled at Surzex. I'd like that. Time skip, evening. Naruto's peerage house. Naruto's peerage members were all sitting in the living room waiting to be called for the rating game against Naruto Bael's peerage. Ugh hi, said Kisame as he slumped down into his seat. When is this thing going to start? I'm hungry to shed some blood. It will start soon, Mr. Kisame. We just have to remain patient. Lee said. But I can't wait for this too. It's going to be so fun going against Naruto Bael by myself. What? Shouted the shark man who said you were the one to fight him. We all said that yesterday during the meeting about this rating game. Uttered Anna. If you didn't go to sleep during the meeting, you would have known this. Well, I say that we re-vote on this decision because I want to be the one who kills beat their king. Shouted Kisame. Too late. We've already decided that this is the time for Lee to show his strength off to everyone since he is the weakest. Anna barked back. If anything goes bad, we'll step in and finish the Bael off. Correct. Said Orochimaru. Lee will save his energy for the final battle. We'll just sweep through the rest of them to quicken the eventual battle between Naruto and Lee. So, wait, is this guy's peerage event that strong? Asked Kisame. Compared to most young devils, he is the strongest king with the strongest peerage. However, if you compare them to us, you might as well say it's like a few ants trying to kill a pack of dogs. Answered How while sipping some red wine. Come on. shouted Kisame as he slammed his hand on the edge of table, accidentally breaking it off. I thought this was going to be fun. This is just us babysitting the rookie. I don't care how you see it, we're going to let Lee finish the fight. Anna gave Kisame a deadly stare. You should stop complaining before I take care of you myself. Friends, we shouldn't fight. Said Yo, acting as the peacekeeper. We have a job to do. We'll just make this quick and watch the rest of that season of Big Bang Theory. I hate that fucking show. They're saying too many smart things. Shouted Kisame. This is crazy. I can finish that little Bael in a jiff. We're going to be there all day with Wonderboy fighting him. Again, we don't care what you think. You should have paid attention to the meeting we had yesterday. How said. I can be the one who can put you in check, or maybe we should call Naruto-sama to do that. Kisame grumbled a few cursed under his breath, but didn't say anything else after that. Orochimaru sighed, glad that the stupid argument was laid to rest. For now at least. Before anything else could be said, a petite, purple-haired, female devil in a maid's outfit appeared in the living room. Hello. This is the peerage that is going against Naruto Bael's peerage, correct? She asked. Yes, indeed. Orochimaru said, standing out of his seat. Everyone else followed his lead. Is it time to go? Yes, but before we do, I was informed that this rating game has a special need, if that's the way to put it. Your king won't actually be in attendance, right? She asked. Right. He'll be in a different form by using his magic. He is currently injured right now and cannot compete in a competition in this magnitude. Said Orochimaru. So how will he attend, because there cannot be a rating game without one of the peerage's leaders? The maid tried to hide her surprise when an orange orb appeared from the floorboards below them. However, she kept her act up and continued. Are you the king of this peerage? She asked. Yes. Mumbled the orb in a disoriented voice. All right. What is your name? I'd like to refrain from mentioning. Answered the orb. We'll have to give you an alias if you want to participate in the rating game. She said. An alias? Said the voice in interest. While the maid didn't catch it, Naruto's peerage had the feeling that giving their slightly crazy master the freedom to choose an alias wasn't the greatest idea. Rating game pocket dimension. Sarawag and his peerage appeared in what seemed to be an old, abandoned barn. There was hay all over the ground, but there were some stacks that the team could use as seats. So this is the place they decided for us to have the game. Keisha said to herself as she sat on one of the hay-made seats and crossed her legs. Seems so. Said Libin Crossel, a young man with blonde hair wearing a set of brown armor. It reminds me of the familiar forest in a way. No matter the arena, we'll win anyway. Shouted Coriana Andrilphus arrogantly. She was a beautiful blonde-haired girl that wore a revealing business suit that showed a lot of her creamy legs and chest. Let's not get too excited, Coriana. Said Gandoma Balam, a devil that looked like a walking rock. We hardly know anything about our opponents. Meanwhile, they've probably watched all of our films. True, but we've been on a winning streak lately. Said Baruka Furcas, a teenager dressed in knight's armor and riding an armored horse. It's okay to have confidence, but not too much confidence. We'll win this battle. Said Ladora Bune, an older-looking man with dark green hair and eyes. As long as we have Sarawag with us, we'll be fine. While it is unsettling that we don't know who we're going up against, I can't say that I'm not excited for this game. We haven't had one in a while. Said Mistita Sabnok, a boy dressed like a warlock. This should be entertaining for now. Muttered Regulus, an orange/golden hair. All right team, listen up. Said Sarorg. While I don't know much about this team, there is a man on their team that has characteristics like a snake. What do you mean? Asked Mistita. He has pale skin, a sharp, manipulative, and has eyes like a snake," said Keisha. "You'll know who we're talking about when you see him." "I want you all to leave him to me," said Serord, surprising everyone other than Keisha. "Since he acted in his king's place during the meeting, I'm strongly sure that he's the leader. And if he's the leader, he may indeed be the strongest. I'll handle him." "And we still don't know how many people we have going against us?" asked Coriana with a hair flip. "No, so we're going to have to work as a team in order for us to win. Buddy up. Nobody moves by themselves." They all nodded at their heads at their king and prepared for the rating game. "Hello," said voice of the ref of the game. "I am Chertaro, the announcer for this match. This rating game hosts the peerage of Naruto Bael, and an unknown devil that uses the alias of Pickle Rick. The arena is a dense forest filled with a variety of different types of forestry. Unlike most rating game, this game shall have a special rule." "Special rule?" said Baruka. "Please turn your attention to the sky of the arena," shouted Chertaro. A picture of the same orange orb appeared in the sky. "The rule is simple, because Pickle Rick couldn't fight in this rating game because of previous injury. If anyone on Team Serord can capture this orb that represents the king of Team Pickle Rick, they will win instantly." Surzek's office. "What is that?" Surzek said as he stared at his television in interest. "That orange orb represented the king of the opposing peerage. That seems like a very high disadvantage for that team," said Seraphal as she looked at the orb as well. "If you don't have your king fighting with you, or at least leading, then the odds of you losing increases tenfold." "Maybe, but if they were accepting of those rules, then they must feel like they can compete without their king," stated Surzek. "We'll see how this works in the long run." Inside the forest. "Why did you name yourself Pickle Rick?" said an irritated How as he glared at his leader, who was in his orb form. Pickles. Nice," stated Naruto. "Rick, nice. And name," said their leader. "No matter our name, we are here to win this rating game," said Orochimaru. "Now, Anna, I remember during our meeting that you can sense our opponents, right?" "Correct." "I can sense them as well," shouted Kisame with a bark. "They're 9 of them directly north of us." "But can you sense which are each piece in the evil piece system?" asked Anna as she glanced at Kisame with a scowl. "Fuck you," he muttered as sat on the ground. Anna smirked at her small victory before turning her attention back towards Orochimaru. "There are 9 of them, including 2 rook s, 2 knight s, and 2 bishop s, and a member of their peerage worth 7 pawn pieces. There is also a queen among them," she finished. "I wish we can meet our queen," muttered Lee as he kicked some of the hay in their barn in sadness. "Good job, Anna," stated Orochimaru. "Very impressive sensing capabilities. I'm sure that it will be useful in the future. The game should begin soon." Not long after Orochimaru said that, the announcer started the countdown. "Good luck to both competitors. The rating game starts in 3, 2, 1. Go. Let's go, let's go, let's go," shouted Lee as he started to run out of the barn. However, How grabbed the back of his jumpsuit. "Ah. Let me go." "No. You're not fighting until the end." "Anna, may you please tell us how they're moving?" asked How as held Lee in a surprisingly strong grip. "They're moving in pairs. There's a rook and a knight heading east, knight and rook headed west, and 2 bishop s headed directly towards us, and the king, queen, and the pawn are staying at their base." "We'll then," said Orochimaru with a clap of his hands. "Seems we'll split up. I got the knight and rook headed west." And with that, Kisame ran off by himself. "Okay then. Yo, Anna. I'm sure you two can handle the other pair headed directly ahead of us." How, you can handle what's out east. Lee and I will follow Anna and Yo, cleaning through their opponents, and head towards their king. When you finish your battle, How, head in that direction. Explained Orochimaru. We'll make things quick so we can take out their head. Agreed. I'll see you all in a couple of minutes. Said How as he walked out of the barn. Will you follow us as well? Yo asked their master. Maybe. And the orb merged with the ground, disappearing. Well then. That answers that. Let's get a move on. Said Anna as she led the group directly north of them. With Kisame. Gotcha. Shouted Kisame as he jumped down in front of his prey. The land caused a huge crater to form under him, the ground not being able to stand the pressure of Kisame's strength. What's happening? Shouted Liban as he used his arms to guard his face from the debris flying at them. Our enemy found us this quick? Shouted Gandoma as he guarded himself as well. The two jumped back from the crater when Kisame hopped out his crater. Well, I have to clean this up really quick. I hope you two can entertain me for a couple of good seconds. The wrapping from Kisame's sword started to loosen towards the bottom of it. Get ready to use your sacred gear, Liban. Shouted Gandoma as he readied himself in a fighting stance. Sacred gear? Oh, we can't have that. Kisame jetted across the field and right in front of Liban, who started to reach for his sword. Quicker than the young devil could ever be, Kisame grabbed Samahata and jumped over Liban, dodging his sword swipe. Before Gandoma could help Liban, Samahata's mouth opened wide and ate Liban whole, his feet the only thing viable. Lee Liban. Shouted Gandoma as he looked at Kisame in shock. Ah. That feels good. Muttered Kisame as held up Samahata and drained Liban of his magic. Those pesky sacred gear users, they're so unpredictable, so I had to get rid of him first. Blood started to flow from Samahata's mouth and drip from Liban's twitching feet. It'll take me about a good 5 seconds for him to die. How dare you? Shouted Gandoma as he ran towards Kisame to assault him. After getting in range of the blue-skinned devil, Gandoma punched at Kisame, but Kisame lazily caught the punch with his free hand, shocking Gandoma even more. Ugh, and they called me ugly. Kisame said as he looked at Gandoma's face. Oh well. And with a jerk of his wrist, Kisame snapped Gandoma's hand. Gahhhhhh. Shouted Gandoma. He tried to pull back, but the grip that Kisame had on his hand stopped him. Alright, he's done. Said Kisame as Samahata spit out Liban. His body was encased in blue while Kisame turned to the pain-ridden Gandoma. Can you quench my hunger? Serord's base. A Rook and Knight of Serord Bael has retired. What? Shouted Serord as he stood from his seat. That quick. These guys, they must be really strong. Regulus muttered to himself. This is surprising. Said Keisha as she stood with her king. Maybe we should depart earlier than expected. Yeah, before we lose anyone. A Bishop and A Rook of Serord Bael has retired. 30 seconds before announcement. A Rook and Knight of Serord Bael has retired. Well he works fast. Said How, referring to Kisame. How was strolling through the thick forest with little difficulty and no sense of direction. He wasn't going to look for his hiding opponents, so instead, he let out a small amount of his magic for his prey to pick up on. Right on time. Muttered How as he kept walking, but his eyes darted to the left of him. Baruka, sitting on top of his trusty steed, came from the bushes and charged at How with his lance. D. He shouted. But before he could even make any decent ground towards How, a small stream of condensed fire pierced his armor and body. Shooting right through his right pectoral and exiting his back, the force of the blow knocked Baruka right off of Altabaro. Coming from How's cloak was his right index finger, which was smoking from the fire he produced. He looked down at Baruka in disgust as he withered on the ground. I thought, Knight's fight with honor. But it seems that your fear of us increased when you heard the announcement of the other two retiring. Hoping to catch me off guard, you use your surrounding as an advantage. It would have worked on anyone else, but I'm no rookie. You were too slow and noticeable to me. However, before Hao could end Baruka, another man dropped down from the trees. His magic was fluctuating in anger, and his scowl towards Hao was deadly. How dare you do that to Baruka, you insignificant boy? He shouted as he started to grow. Hao didn't appear to notice that Ledora was transforming into a dragon. The only thing that he cared about was what Ledora said about him. Insignificant. Hao looked down at his palms and clenched them at anger. You dare call me insignificant? Ledora, finishing his dragon transformation, locked onto Hao's form and spewed red-hot flames from his mouth and towards him. Hao glared at the flames with hatred as he held out his hands to his supposed approaching doom. So small. A large, red arm appearing out of thin air held out its hand and blocked all of the fire intended for Hao. The flame assault lasted for a few seconds, but Hao was revealed to be completely untouched by the flames. His partner, however, was caught by the flames and Baruka's body looked like a torch. Oh no, Baruka! Shouted Ledora. Before he could go save his friend, a red monster half the size of Ledora in his dragon form fizzled in front of him. Hao was standing on it while looking up at Ledora. I'll show you insignificant! Shouted Hao, his anger getting the best of him. Spirit of fire. End him! With a loud roar, the newly named Spirit of Fire reared its arm back and lodged it into Ledora's chest. The dragon roared in pain and was trying to get away from Hao, but the Spirit of Fire's arm was fully planted inside of Ledora's chest. Burn! Muttered Hao as Ledora's body was encased in fire, much like his partner's own. Soon enough, Ledora receded into his base form and faded away in a blue light, with Baruka following in suit. A Rook and Knight of Naruto Bael has retired. With Surzex and Serafal. Both Satan's attention was focused to the television as they watched the spectacle happening right before their eyes. Who are these people? Surzex as he watched Hao laughing at Ledora's body fading in the light before flying off on top of the monster that appeared out of nowhere. Serafal couldn't utter any words as she continued to watch this mysterious peerage destroy the peerage of the most powerful youngest king in the underworld. With Orochimaru, Yo, Anna, and Lee. They really are doing some damage out there, huh? Muttered Yo as he listened to the latest update on who was still in the rating game. They're doing their job. Said Anna. I don't want to be here for long. We'll finish the weaklings in front of us, and Lee will have his battle with Sarorg. Oh, I can't wait to show them my youth. He yelled. Continuing their walk, the group approached the last remaining members of Sarorg's peerage that wasn't at their base. Stand back! Shouted Coriana as she shot a spear of ice towards the group. It was easily destroyed by a simple sword stroke from Yo. Hey now, no need to be chunking ice spears at anyone. We just want to pass through all happy and healthy, you know? So if you can just slowly get out of our way, we won't attack. Yo said with a peaceful smile. Stop being peaceful, Yo. His grin turned into a frown. We're going to make quick work of them. That's it. We won't let you through. We have to protect Sarorg. Shouted Mistita, but the fear was evident in his voice. Right, even though we may lose, we still won't give up. Shouted Coriana, clenching her fist as she charged up her magic. However, what the two didn't see were two demonic creatures standing behind them. One red and another blue, both flashing large fangs and spikes protruding their foreheads. They gave the unsuspecting Coriana and Mistita a chop to their necks. They both fainted in the quick but embarrassing defeat. Good job, Zenki and Goki, said Anna. They both nodded as their body dismantled into mist and flew into her necklace, which was glowing blue before fading away once it absorbed both Shikigami. That was so cool. shouted Lee as he jumped around Anna in admiration. While she didn't show it on the outside, she was grateful that somebody recognized her talents. Well then, your battle is soon approaching, Lee. Are you ready? Asked Yo. Yes. I'll show them my youth. With Surzex and Serafall. Both Satan stared, again, at the television in shock. While the quick knockouts was embarrassing and didn't have a lot of entertainment, the way she finished them off is what had them in shock. This doesn't make sense. Who are these people? Muttered Serafall. Surzex was paying attention to the necklace that Anna had around her neck. It took a while, but his knowledgeable mind soon figured out what was going on. A shaman. He said to himself, but Serafall heard him. A shaman? You think she's a shaman? I do. Surzex said as he continued to study Anna. Shamans are basically magicians, but it is a rare and dying form of magic that humans used. Cursed with the ability to see spirits all their lives, they can summon dead spirits or spirits of this world. I remember reading about them a long time ago. And that necklace? He said. Those have to be the 1080 beads. She uses them to summon her personal spirits to fight. So, in a way, she summons her own familiars? Serafall asked. Yes, in some shape or form or fashion, that is true. However, it's different with shamans. Using their shamanic power, they summon their spirits and fuel them with their magic. They can always be destroyed with a stronger attack or spell, but they can reappear again if their own boost them with more magic. He explained. The effects of a shaman being reincarnated into a devil are truly amazing. Whoever their king is, they really chose a team of monsters. If they continue to develop. Serafall didn't even want to think what kind of havoc they could cause. Team Serord's base. Regulus, Keisha, and Serord waited outside of their abandoned barn for their enemies to arrive. It was only a matter of time now until the final battle unfolded. Master, Regulus spoke. Are you sure we should continue? No, I'm not sure. Serorg answered truthfully. However, I may never get the chance to see if I can deal some type of damage to these devils. Keisha sighed as she knew that Serord battle maniac mind started to appear. Sure enough, the group led by Anna came from the forest and stopped not too far from Serord. It was quiet for a while before Serord spoke. You set all of this up, didn't you, Orochimaru? Serord said with a snarl. Well, of course. Orochimaru said with a grin and shoulder shrug. You know what I need from you, and I felt like this was the best way to do it. Plus, everyone watching should be amazed at how we are decimating your team. Such a shame, I thought this would be more entertaining. How dropped from the skies, his spirit of fire diminishing after how recalled it. He stretched his arms out before saying, I'm sure you all had no problems with your opponents, no? For this to be one of the strongest peerages among the youth of Devil Society, they weren't as strong as I thought they were. Ignoring Serord growl at how Orochimaru spoke, Anna handled quickly and in an impressive manner. While it was quick, Anna has shown her strength, and I must say I'm surprised. Just because you've never seen my skills before doesn't mean you should doubt me. Anna said with a glare sent at the pale man. I was chosen to be on this peerage, after all. Fufufu, oh yes. Please forgive me. He said nonchalantly. Kisame walked out of the forest with a shit-eating grin and approached his teammates. Alright, finished up those bugs that stood in my way. Rookie, make sure that this battle is worth my time. Yes, sir. Said Lee with a thumbs up. Serord Bael, I challenge you to spar with me. One-on-one. Serord, Regulus, and Keisha couldn't hide their shock as they looked at Lee, who held a confident grin. You want to fight me alone? Serord chuckled. While we may lose this rating game, I don't think that you should just throw yourself at me like that. While I'm not arrogant, it isn't smart for the weakest member to fight the king of the opposing peerage, right? That would be true in most cases, but when the weakest member of this peerage is stronger than that king, there should be anything to worry about. He said with a smirk. You aren't scared, right? Sarord grew his on devilish smirk as he entered a battle stance. If you say so, let's see which one of us is stronger then. Lee entered his own battle stance with excitement filling his body. You will not defeat me. Naruto Bael, pure-blooded devil, king. Versus Rock Lee, half-devil, rook. Naruto took in a deep breath before charging at Lee with a burst of speed. Lee met the Bael halfway, clashing against him in a battle of strength. Naruto caught Lee's punch while Lee caught Naruto's. The Bael raised an eyebrow at the force that Lee was exerting. He's actually matches me in strength, Naruto said to himself before focusing back on the battle. Break away from Lee, Naruto ran through a quick combo of punches and kicks. Lee, using his agility to the fullest, dodged every single punch and kick sent his way. Taking the initiative when he saw an opening, Lee dodged another punch and got in close to Naruto, launching a speeding uppercut to the unsuspecting Bael's face. All right, Lee, shouted Yo from the sidelines. Lee heard the compliment but didn't have time to recognize it as Naruto quickly retaliated with a fierce kick that he dodged. Lucky hit. It won't happen again, Naruto shouted with a punch to Lee's midsection. Lee grunted in pain but countered another one of Naruto's attacks. Feinting with a left hook, Lee shot his right arm at Naruto's face, but he tilted his head to left at the last second. Naruto went on the offensive by kneeing Lee in his stomach, but was met with Lee's own knee, stopping the blow from hitting him. Lee pushed off of Naruto before landing on the ground. Leaf whirlwind, he shouted as he conjured up some wind magic to his legs. Twisting his body around, a fierce wind surrounded Lee's body and attacked Naruto's feet, knocking him off his balance. Seeing the opportunity, Lee blitzed over the falling Naruto and greeted him with an elbow to his midsection, forcing spit out of Naruto's mouth as the force of the blow created a large crater under him. Naruto, shouted Keisha as she went to help him, but one of Anna's Shikigami, Goki, blocked her path. Stay right where you are, demanded Anna. I don't need you getting involved. Be glad we haven't knocked you two out during their brawl. Keisha growled out at the shamanic devil, but didn't try anything else. Naruto dusted some of the dirt from his body as he stood up from his personal crater. You're good. Really good, he complimented. Thanks, but I don't want to lose focus with conversation, Lee said. He's stronger than I thought he was, he thought. I could fight with Tuki, but I haven't quite mastered that technique yet. I guess I'll just have to take off my weights. A golden seal appeared over Naruto's arms, surprising Lee, and faded away once Naruto released them. Take another deep breath, Naruto disappeared from everyone's vision before reappearing over an unsuspecting Lee. Got you, he shouted as he landed a powerful punch to Lee's stomach. Lee was shot back towards his peerage from the force. Kisame caught his body as Lee erupted in a coughing spree. Ah, hell nah. That's it. Really? That's all you've got? Said Kisame, disappointed. Heh, he just caught me off guard. He wasn't that quick at all before. Plus, he's not the only one with weights, Lee said with a smirk as she wiped the blood from his lip with his hand. Orochimaru smirked at Lee as he released his own weights. Seems things are about to get serious now. Lee disappeared, shocking even Orochimaru at his sudden increase in speed. Naruto twisted his body and met Lee's kick with one of his own. The two continued to battle it out, sending everything they had at each other. After getting a hit off of Naruto when he tried to reel back from a punch, Lee did a quick leaf whirlwind technique to knock him off his feet. Noticing Lee's stance was similar to what his was a while ago, Naruto jumped over the strong winds, sent a drop kick at Lee, which he evaded quickly by summoning his devil wings and flying upwards, kneeing Naruto under his chin. Ignoring the pain, Saror grabbed Lee's leg and slammed him down on the ground. He stomped on Lee a few times, forcing Lee down into earth below, before delivering a sickening kick to his ribs. However, Lee didn't fly away, using his wings as a wind buffer so he could counter Saror with a foot to the face. He's resourceful, thought Saror as jumped over Lee. Landing on his feet, Saror summoned all the power in his legs to catapult him to Lee's open back. Rearing his fist back, Saror expected to hit Lee with everything he had. However, he wasn't expecting for Lee to bend his body all the way back. Both his feet and now hands were planted on the ground as Saror flew right over him. "What?" shouted Saror within his mind. He wasn't suspecting Lee to be able to pull out such a maneuver. Take advantage of his position, Lee put all his weight on his hands as he lifted his feet and kicked Saror in the air. The strength in the blow made Saror cough up some of his blood and his lungs cried for mercy. He sensed Lee behind him and before he could act on it, Lee sent a few quick, but strong, jabs at his spine, disabling him momentarily. Taking his paralysis to his advantage, Lee quickly released his bandages and wrapped Saror in them, enhancing their durability with his magic. "Time to finish it," shouted Lee as the two started to plummet back down to the ground. Lee released his devil wings once more to add to the speed of the attack. The two spun at incredible speeds as they continued their way down to the ground. Saror's eyes widened when he figured out what he was about to do, but he could hardly move because of how the bandages wrapped around his joints as well as he back pain. He closed his eyes in fear as he readied himself for the pain that was soon to come. "Primary Lotus," shouted Lee as he slammed Saror into the ground. He jumped away just before he finished the attack, saving himself from any injury. Saror, however, wasn't so lucky. "Wow," muttered Orochimaru as he took in the sight of Saror's body sticking out of the ground. That move was very deadly indeed. The training he must have put in to have the stamina for such a move is remarkable. Orochimaru smirked to himself. Naruto-sama really knows raw talent when he sees it. "Holy shit! That was awesome!" shouted Kisame. "Great job out there, rookie. I might have to steal that move from ya." "Sorry, but that's a personal favorite of mine," Lee said with a few huffs. "I'm keeping the secrets to that one myself." While he looked tired on the outside, Lee was giddy on the inside. He lifted his fist and smiled to himself in pride. All that hard work, it's starting to pay off. He looked over to Saror who, while still conscious, was heavily damaged and was being checked on by his two peerage members. If I can do that to a high-class devil like him, there's no limit to how I can get. He thought confidently. I still haven't used it yet. Saror had dug himself out with the help of his two peerage members. He was in a world of hurt and disoriented, hardly being able to hear what his queen was saying to him. Saror. Saror. Do you hear me? We need to surrender. You can't handle this type of punishment. Keisha shouted at him. Surrender. Saror whispered, the words echoing in his skull. He couldn't surrender. He still had to think about his sick mother. He couldn't just stop here. He had someone he was fighting for. Saror stood up, ignoring his crying muscles, and glared at Lee. Feeling someone's eyes on him, Lee looked over to the Bael who was stretching out his body. You have pushed me, he said as he cracked his neck. No more holding back. I am fighting for someone and I won't let you be the person to stop me. Same here, muttered Lee as he stood up, figuring his little break was over. Seems like you still have some fight left in you. Oh, I do. Tons more. Oceans more of energy left for me to fight for what I believe. He said prideful. But it won't be put to any use, said Lee as he entered his battle stance. I told you once, and I'll tell you again, all playfulness left Lee's voice as he glared daggers at the smirking Bael. You shall not defeat me. Saror chuckled. Regulus. Come. Same time. Kuo. Move. Shouted Issei as he fought back a group of exorcists inside the abandoned church. While Li and Yo had their battle, Issei had his own as he cleaned through many of the weak exorcists that dared to stand in his way. After convincing Rias to help him in his quest to save Asia, in which she accepted quickly, something that he noticed, but was strangely put to edge on, the group made their way to the abandoned church at the edge of town when the night was at its darkest. Rias and Aquino were handling some fallen angels outside the church, while Kiba, Kaneko, and Issei battled it out inside the church. "You sons of bitches are tough," said Freed as he fought against Kiba with his light sword. So far, both were even, but because of Kiba's versatility, he was slowly coming out on top. Kaneko was handling her enemies well, taking minimum damage while fighting against exorcists that depended heavily on weapons like light swords and guns that they weren't properly trained for. Issei's anger was increasing every second someone else got in his way. He needed to find Asia and save her from whatever those fallen bastards had planned. Boost! Shouted his gear. Taking advantage of his added energy, he stretched his arm out to a large group of exorcists and prepared his magic for a big blow. Dragon shot! He yelled as a large beam of energy blasted towards the exorcist, overwhelming them by the power put behind it. They were lucky that they were only knocked out from the blast, because Issei was saving his energy for another person. Finding one of the exorcists was still conscious, Issei grabbed him by his collar and repeatedly punched his face in with his gauntlet-enhanced fist. To Issei, it was hurt first, ask questions later. "Where's Asia? Where are you hiding her? Tell me now," shouted Issei as he slammed the exorcist down on the ground. "Gah!" shouted the man as he howled in pain. "Do you think I care about your pain? I said, where is Asia? Partner, I think you should calm down. I don't have all day." Issei ignored the dragon in favor of getting information out of the priest. She's under the altar, secret room." The exorcist coughed out. "About time." Issei delivered the final blow to the exorcist head, not knowing if he had killed him or knocked him out. The only thing on his mind was finding where Asia was. Noticing that he was the only person left, Freed took to his plan B. "Seems you shitty devils have done more damage than I thought. I'll mutilate your bodies some other day." And threw a flash grenade down on the ground. When the light settled, he was gone. "Doesn't matter that he's gone." Kaneko muttered, "Let's proceed." "Right," Issei said with a smile. He was glad that he had both Kiba and Kaneko with him. "Let's keep it moving then." Finding the secret entrance, the trio carried on until they finally made it to the room where Asia. She was hung up on a cross surrounded by chanting priests. "Asia!" shouted Issei, catching the blonde's attention. "Issei!" She answered back in happiness that her friend was here. "And there goes any chance at a surprise attack," muttered Kiba with a sigh as he summoned a sword. The priest noticed they were there and prepared to attack the trio. "Well, look at this," said an all too familiar voice to Issei. Rainier stepped in front of Asia with a cocky look on her face. Issei's anger was slowly increasing as he saw Yuma's killer. You, he muttered at Rainier. Even though she killed Yuma, she looked painfully similar to her. However, Issei remembered who his enemy was. "Well, I'm glad you're here so that I can finally kill you. You're too late to save her," Rayar said with a grin. "The ritual is complete, and now her sacred gear can finally be mine." "No!" shouted Issei as he charged towards Rainier, but the priest stopped him right in his tracks with their light swords. "Get out of my way!" he shouted as he fought with some of the priest. "Issei, we'll make a way for you to get to her. Just calm down," shouted Kiba as he dueled with a priest on his own. "We'll get to her," muttered Kaneko as she punched a priest up into the ceiling. Turning her back to battle scene, Rainier focuses on Asia. Finally, I can have the power to heal any injury. Do you know what this means for me? Nobody will be able to stop me. Please, Ms. Rainier, you don't have to do this. Asia said with worry. Oh, yes I do. With Twilight healing, I can become stronger, strong enough for me to finally be recognized. The pain of the forced ejection of her sacred gear was becoming harder to bear as Asia started to scream in pain. The green light glowing from her chest area started to grow brighter and brighter as her screams grew stronger. Hold on, Asia. Issei yelled as his attacks grew more violent. The exorcists were getting in his way of saving his friend, and he wasn't going to lose someone else. Boost! Shouted his gear. Issei's senses kicked in when he felt someone behind him. He jumped to the side just in time to avoid being cut in half by a light sword. Acting on his new power boost, Issei punched the priest right on his temple, the force cracking his head as he landed on the ground, either dead or soon to be dead. Kiba raised an eyebrow at the scene but couldn't focus on it for long as he continued to defend himself from the exorcists. Suddenly, Asia's screams grew quiet. Issei looked towards her to see her eyes didn't have the life they once had in them, and her body was slumped. Rainier was grinning madly as she held Twilight healing in her hands. At last, Rainier said as she looked at the gear in awe. I finally can start to make my way to the top. I can finally be respected like the way I deserve. She hugged the sacred gear to her chest, moaning erotically as it entered her body and filling her with its power. Issei, Kaneko, and Kiba had a few exorcists to deal with, but the light of Rainier absorbing Twilight healing blinded everyone and paused the fighting. Ah ha ha ha. She laughed out with an evil laugh. I feel amazing. I would say my thanks to this stupid nun, but she's already dead. Oh well. And with a snap of her fingers, Asia's body was released from the chains holding her onto the cross. Asia! Shouted Issei as he ran up the altar and saved Asia from further harm when he caught her in his arms. Issei. Asia muttered weakly. Rainier laughed at the scene. So this is what you did? You switched from that lookalike of me to this little slut? Ha! This is how you honor your past love's life. She was probably happy that she died if she could get away from you. Shut up. Issei shot a glare up to the fallen angel. You don't understand what you did to her. She was innocent. She doesn't deserve this. That's just how the world works, idiot. She shouted. I'm trying to get out of this shithole just like you. Don't you want to grow, not be known for being a low-class devil? I'm doing this for a better life for myself. So, you'd kill innocents just to accomplish your goals? And I'd kill 1,000 more. She yelled, anything to accomplish my own goals. You serve some dumb king that has control over your life and you'll never be able to break that. Always a slave to some dumb bitch prepped and pampered all her life. This is how the real world works. She summoned a light spear and aimed it at Issei. If you can't adapt to it, then die. Issei jumped out of the spear's path and landed at the bottom of the altar. Asia wasn't responding at all to him, making Issei assume the worst. Asia, he said as he took in the sight of her unresponsive body. He forced his eyes closed, trying to hold back his tears. I need to leave. Rainier said to herself as she watched Kiba and Kaneko fighting against the remaining exorcist. They'll keep the devils busy. Time to go. No you don't. Shouted Issei as he noticed Rainier starting to leave the underground room. He grew his own wings and flew up to Rainier, his sacred gear shouting a quick boost. While flying up to her. Still got spunk, huh? She said as she summoned another spear. Then come at me. And she threw the spear at him. Remembering his agility training with Kiba, Issei flew around the spear and closed into Rainier. He dropped kick to her shoulder, but she easily slid out the way while summoning another spear. Gotcha! She shouted with a disgust grin filled with evil as she threw it at him. By the way he was positioned, he wouldn't be able to dodge it, and she knew that her spear would deal heavy damage, because it was made from light. No, you don't. Dragon shot. He yelled, blasting the spear with his own shot of energy. He didn't use all of his new energy from the previous boost because he knew that he was going to need it later on. Arg! Shouted Reiner as his attack destroyed her spear and hit her as well. It wasn't as strong thanks to the spear taking the brunt of the damage, but it still hurt. Issei took the initiative and flew towards Reiner with his fist cocked back and delivered a wrecking blow to Reiner's stomach. She howled in pain as she descended to the ground. I'm not finished with you yet, Issei said as he jumped on top of Reiner when she tried to heal herself. Get off of me, she yelled as she trashed against him. He caught both of her arms with his gauntlet-enhanced hand. He started to assault Reiner repeatedly with his human arm, anger influencing his every move. She didn't deserve it. He shouted and knocked the wind out of her when he punched her stomach. She didn't do anything to anybody. She just wanted to help people. You think I care? She shouted back, trying her hardest to ignore the pain coursing through her body. I don't have time to care about anyone else. Gah. She spit up blood when Issei punched her again. You're a disgrace. You don't deserve to live, he yelled. His booster gear doubled his power again, charging his body with energy. You don't deserve anything. Fuck you, she shouted when she finally kicked him off of her. While it was a success on her end, her body looked a mess as she was bleeding from various parts. You don't know me. You don't know anything I've been through. And you don't know what you did to me when you killed Yuma, he answered. And now Asia. You'll continue to kill those who have power just so you can quench your sick thirst for strength. You're just taking the easy way out. Ugh. Blood spilled out of Reiner's mouth as she tried to talk. I don't need to explain myself to you. You don't know how it feels to be at the bottom. I've been in this same position all my life. You think that I want to live like this? Living in this shitty church. She cried out, I've had enough and I'll take the easy way out any day if I can grow stronger. Issei's boosted gear gleamed a dangerous red as it boosted Issei's power again. Tears were pouring out of Issei's eyes, but he didn't try to stop them. You killed Yuma, and now you killed Asia, he muttered. He raised his gauntlet towards Reiner's direction, who was struggling to stand up properly. I won't give you the opportunity to spread the pain I'm feeling now. No. She shouted as she ran up to Issei with a new spear, ignoring the pain from the beating Issei gave her. Dragon shot. With Lee and Serorg. This just keeps on getting better and better, Orochimaru said from the sidelines as he took upon Serorg's new form. Orochimaru was surprised that the boy that was on Serorg's side was actually the Longinus, Regulus Nemia, and that Serorg could achieve its balance breaker. What do you think, beast? Said Serorg, covered in golden armor. This is Regulus Ray Leather Rex, my balance breaker. It's interesting, Lee said, but I can take it. Oh really? Serorg said, so you have a party trick of your own you want to bring out? Not a party trick. I'll show you. My youth. Serorg tilted his head in confusion. Orochimaru sighed with a hand to his hand as he tried to hide his face from the cameras that were bound to be on him. Damn it, Lee. That can be taken so many different ways. Yelled Lee as his magic started to surround his body. Lee is incredible, said Yo from the sidelines. Who knew he could be summoning all this magic, and for a rookie devil too? This is rare for a reincarnated devil to be pushing out this much power. How said. However, there has to be some type of side effects of all of this power coming from him. Gate of opening. Open. Yelled Lee as his magic swayed around him. Gate of healing. Open. All of Lee's injuries started sizzle away, surprising everyone watching his display. Lee's magic convulsed wildly as he shouted, "Gate of Life! Open!" Debris was thrown around by the magic outage Lee was letting out. His skin turned red as a green aura surrounded his body. Sarorg covered his face from the strong winds pushing him back as he took in the sight. "What are you, you beast?" he muttered as he noticed Lee didn't have any pupils anymore. Lee was taking in deep breaths and focused in on Sarorg, who raised an eyebrow at Lee's skin tone. "It seems that power of yours is taking a toll on your body." Lee smirked, "Not quite," and disappeared. "Gah!" shouted Sarorg as he felt pain in his back as his body was knocked into a nearby tree. He recovered quickly and met Lee face to face with another power struggle. GGRRRRRR. Lee mustered his strength into his palms as he pushed forward, surprising Sarorg at his strength. "Impressive," he said with a smile. "But you have to play smart too." Lee lost his balance when Sarorg stopped exerting his strength on him, causing him to fall forward. Sarorg kneed Lee in his stomach and switched to a kick, causing Lee to fly in the air. "Arg!" he shouted as he winced at the pain. He ignored it in favor of focusing on the approaching Bael. He faked his injury and waited until Sarorg was close enough until his twisted his body and kicked Sarorg on his head. Not stopping his assault, he continued to brawl with Sarorg in a quick pace in the air. "This is fun," shouted Sarorg as he dodged a punch and answered with a kick to Lee's side. Lee quickly grabbed and threw Sarorg back down into the ground, forming a crater. Sarorg quickly flew out of the crater as Lee descended to where he once was with a deadly kick enhanced with his magic. He stomped his foot on the ground, changing his momentum, and soared back at Lee. Lee disappeared from sight, using pure speed, when Sarorg tried to attack, and appeared by his side, sending a quick jab at his ribs. Sarorg answered with a kick to Lee's waist and a sledgehammer on his head, but Lee caught both his hands and struggled under the pressure. "Irk!" He winced as the ground started to break under his feet. "You are really strong. I am enjoying this fully," shouted Sarorg as he switched to a kick to Lee's open stomach. Lee set his right foot behind him and stood his ground once contact was made with Sarorg's foot into his stomach. He slapped his leg away and got a good punch into Sarorg's chest. "Arg!" he shouted as he jumped back away from Lee. Lee was smirking at Sarorg, knowing that he got a clean look at him. He didn't give Sarorg any rest as he rushed at him. "Master, if we continue like this, we'll lose," Regulus stated in Sarorg's mind. "We'll have to use Tuki if we want to win." "I haven't mastered Tuki yet," Sarorg grunted as he took another hit from Lee. When he tried to answer, Lee disappeared in a burst of speed. "I don't know how, but he's faster than me. While I have the edge in strength, not being able to hit him at all is really getting annoying. And if I use Tuki, my stamina will drop considerable. A risk we'll have to take." Regulus stated, "You'll have 5 minutes to deal with this boy if you use it. I'd say it's your only option." "All right then," shouted Sarorg as he pushed Lee away from him. A white hue of magic surrounded Sarorg as his muscles bulged even more. "While I haven't mastered this technique fully, I know I can defeat you with it. Come," shouted Lee as he appeared in front of the Bael once more. Sarorg ducked a punch and delivered his own to his chest, but Lee answered with a knee to Sarorg's face and slapped him away. Sarorg, with a quick burst of speed, appeared over Lee and slammed into him with a tackle. The ground broke from under them as they continued to brawl. Lee dodged a hit to his left and avoided another punch from the older boy, weaving through his offense before finding an opening and delivering a sick kick under Sarorg's chin. "I got you," he yelled, shaking off the kick like it was nothing once he grabbed Lee's leg and spun him around. He released Lee and he crashed into the old barn that was once their base. Lee jetted out of the wreckage and responded with another powerful kick. Dynamic entry. he yelled as he landed the kick on Serorg's shoulder, who let his guard down. He wasn't expecting the quick recovery, but learned his lesson as he clawed at the ground to stop himself from going any further. "Take this!" he shouted as he slammed into the ground and sharp rocks jetted from the earth. Lee weaved through them all, using his enhanced speed to avoid everything while approaching Serorg. Once out of the jungle of sharp rocks, Lee continued his assault on Serorg as they dueled in a battle of speed and strength. Left hook, right kick, guard, move left, swipe right, break defense, block punch, hit, hit, hit. Lee commanded his body to do everything as the battle waged on. "This is incredible," Serorg said mentally as he continued his fight with Lee. He couldn't help but smile when he felt Lee kick him from behind. "This energy is amazing. I've never felt this way before." Hhhhhh. Lee's battle cry filled the area as he attacked once more. He was having the time of his life as well, but his face kept serious as he released more magic and knocked Serorg away with the heel of his foot during a spin kick. Serorg spit blood as his armor cracked. "Master, this is getting dangerous. You're straining your body a lot. You need to finish this now." "All right," he said out loud, but nobody heard him. Lee phased towards Serorg in a burst of speed, but Serorg caught his punch, along with the next one that Lee sent your way. "I haven't had fun like this in a long time," Serorg muttered to Lee. Lee didn't react to the words, but Serorg continued, "Unfortunately, this has to stop now. Forgive me." With speed Lee didn't know he had, Serorg jawed Lee with his elbow. However, he was still holding onto Lee's fist, so he didn't fly away like he did throughout most of the battle. Serorg stomped on Lee's right foot, making Lee cry out, and grabbed both sides of Lee's head. "This is it!" Serorg shouted as he delivered a mind-blowing head but to Lee's head. Serorg's armor protected him from most of the damage, Lee however. "Damn!" muttered Kisame as he watched Lee go limp in Serorg's hold. While he didn't beat the Bael, he did well. "I have to say, I'm impressed. He's proven himself, if you ask me. I'd say that this initiation was a success." Hao said. "Agreed," Anna said simply. "Lee, if you're still conscious, even thought you probably aren't, then you passed the test." Yo shouted happily. "Test?" said Serorg as he let go of Lee, his body dropping to the ground. "You mean this was all a test?" "Sure was, and he passed," Orochimaru said with a grin. "We'll finish you off now. This was good entertainment for us, and I'm sure our viewers enjoyed it as well. You snakebot gaahhhhh. Serorg yelled as he held his stomach in pain. He looked down to see an angry Lee, magic rolling off his body, and his skin boiling with heat. "Gate of pain, open." Lee grunted. Blood was flowing from his forehead from Serorg's head, but he ignored everything in order to focus on defeating Serorg. How can you still move?" asked the Bael as he was gripping his injury with care. Master, you need to stop now. Tuki has taken too much of your stamina. You might die if you keep going on." "Because they accepted me," shouted Lee, and with an unknown strength, he kicked Serorg high in the air. "Serorg!" shouted Kushia from the sidelines, but Anna's Shikigami was still in her way. Garhh. Serorg's mouth was filled with blood as he flew in the air. He couldn't move properly because of the strain Tuki put on his body. Serorg's body was hit repeatedly by Lee with unrelenting force. He couldn't defend nor predict Lee's attacks, and could only endure through the suffering Lee was giving him. "Master! Serorg! We need to get out of here now." Serorg was losing consciousness with every hit from Lee. He couldn't keep up with, and he could slowly feel himself being wrapped in Lee's bandages. When Lee finished wrapping Serorg in his bandages, he flew down towards him, increasing in velocity. Reverse Lotus! Shouted Lee as he slammed his palm and foot into Sarog's stomach. Sarog's vomited blood and his armor was destroyed from the hit. He couldn't even roar in pain because of the damage he took from the hit. He rocketed into the ground, creating a huge crater in the forest floor. Sarog! Sarog! Keisha pushed past Goki, but it didn't chase after her. Anna recalled her Shikigami, knowing that the battle was over, and there was nothing that she could do. That was incredible. Anna said with wide eyes, a rarity. For Lee to become this strong in just 2 years. Thanks to Master being strong before he reincarnated Lee, I'm sure that Lee's strength and potential skyrocketed once he was reincarnated. Explained how either way, I'm proud of him. He's surpassed everyone's expectations, if you ask me. Lee landed on the ground and stopped his flow of magic. He was taking in deep breaths, but managed to stand up on his own. He swayed as the wind pushed against his body, but he ignored it in favor of seeing the blue light that coming from Sarog's crater. Lee raised his left hand in the air, while a content smile on his face. Victory! He muttered. He did it! Shouted the announcer. Since Naruto Bael, king of his group, has retired, Team Pickle Rick is victorious with a flawless win. Lee turned to the rest of the peerage, hearing clapping coming from them. Sure enough, they were all applauding him and his impressive victory, making a smile grow on his face as he walked back to them. Great job, Lee! Orochimaru said with a smile as he patted his back. Lee winced at it. His body was badly injured from the fight, but he knew that Orochimaru didn't do it on purpose. Thanks, Lee said back. Orochimaru frowned at Lee's body, analyzing all of the injuries he took. We need to get him home so he can rest, said Yo. They all agreed and disappeared with a magic seal, headed back home to take care of Lee. Kuo. The light of Issei's dragon shot died down. Everyone went wide-eyed when an orange shield was protecting Rainier. What is that? Issei muttered. Rainier was looking at the barrier in curiosity and a little gratefulness. That attack would have surely killed her, so she was thankful for whoever made it for her. Rias walked into the room with a frown on her face. She felt a foreign magic in the air, but couldn't locate where it was coming from. Show yourself, whoever you are. I am Rias Gremory, heir to Gremory clan, and I demand you show yourself, or I won't hold back. She yelled to nobody in particular. After a couple of quiet seconds, Rainier's shield shrunk and molded together into a small, orange orb. Magic was radiating from it in the form of mist, and it put everyone on edge. While the orb didn't have eyes, Issei felt like it was staring right at him. He shivered because the orb gave off a sense of dominance, and he felt he shouldn't react any type of way in front of it. Don't give in to hatred. A disoriented voice said, surprising everyone again. You'll reg. Gret it. Who are you? Asked Issei. The master of tea, the peerage, in Kuo. Rias, while surprised at this turn of events, narrowed her eyes at the orb and marched towards it. So, this was the person that felt like they could walk all over her, allowing their peerage to settle here in Kuo like it was nothing? She wanted answers and she wanted them now. Excuses me, Rias said to the orb. The orb slightly turned towards her and she also felt the dominant aura that was flowing from it. However, she kept her intimidating gaze at the orb. You're the master of Orochimaru, correct? If so, why did you stop my pawn from finishing her off? Are you a traitor of your own race, defending the fallen angels like they're your own kind? The orb didn't answer for a few seconds, but when it did, she didn't like the answer that it gave. Such arrogance. It muttered, childish Gremory. Rias was going to retort, but the dominating aura cut her off. She shivered in fear, not like how Orochimaru made her shiver when he first showed up in Kuo, but it was still uneasy. She felt lesser while in front of the orb and she didn't like it. You can act the girl. Again, but I don't want you to. Why? Asked Issei. Issei, good boy. Ino, innocent. Good intentions. I don't want to ruin that rarity. A magic seal appeared under the unsuspecting Rainair. Red hands came from the seal and held her body down. Hey! What's going on? What are you doing? Are you going to the girl? Asked the orb. Issei's eyes widened and he turned to Rias with a hopeful look. You can revive her? Really? Please, Butcho, please? Bring Asia back. Begged Issei. Rias frowned and looked down at the girl. She was dead, that was clear, but she had her sacred gear removed. Issei's hopes started to dwindle because Rias didn't say anything at all. He looked up to her with tears in his eyes, making Rias wince at the scene. Aren't you going to do it? She didn't deserve to die. She didn't deserve to. She doesn't have her sacred gear, Issei. Rias explained. I don't think that it would be a good decision to revive her. Issei gritted his teeth in anger, all of his sadness thrown out the window. So, she's just useless, huh? She's just a useless human being who can't defend herself from the supernatural. That's all she is to you, isn't it? The only thing you care about is power. Wait, Issei. It isn't like that. Yes, it is. It just like how it was with me. He screamed, and to think that I was starting to like you. To enjoying being around you all. But all I see now are power-hungry demons. Issei. Rias inched her way towards him. Get away from me, he said, and recalled his boosted gear and turning it to Rias. Rias halted her steps and raised her hands in surrender. Kiba and Kaneko prepared themselves just in case he tried to hurt Rias. Don't do it, Issei, Kiba said to his friend. He just got finished fight enemies from another faction. He didn't want to fight his friend that was a devil like him, in the same peerage, no less. Issei growled at them but didn't do anything else. He stared at Rias with hatred in his eyes, making her flinch and look away. This was really how devils operated. If it was true, then he wanted OU. He. The orb laughed. He ha ha. Ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. The chilling laugh reverberated in the room. Everyone, even Rainair, who was trapped, shivered at the cold laughter. It was unsettling, especially from the earlier tension. The orb slowly stopped laughing and turned towards Rainair. One of the red hands went to her fingers and started to pull Twilight Healing. She started screaming as a green light was encasing her hand as the red hand continued to pull it, until it was fully ejected from Rainair. Aha! He howled in pain before falling into unconscious. The red hand floated over to Asia's body, and placed in between her breast. Another green light show happened, and when it was done, Twilight Healing was back in Asia's body. That was funny. The orb muttered out that's all I needed to see. The hands around Rainair's body glowed red and the energy started to disintegrate her body until nothing else was there. Rainair was dead. You can, revive her now. And with that, the orb disappeared, leaving Rias and her peerage with an awkward atmosphere. That's it for this reading. Hit like and subscribe for a free ticket pass going to the different worlds of anime fanfictions. Looking forward to having you on board again.